How's everybody doing? This is Steve with Altcoin Buzz, and we've got a video about Ripple today and some news that's coming up for this week, so stay tuned for that. First and foremost, I wanted to make sure that you guys are subscribed to us here on YouTube, so if you haven't already hit the subscribe button, go ahead and do that. Right next to that, you'll find the bell to turn on notifications, which should let you know each time we update with a new video. But we've gotten feedback from you guys saying that you haven't been getting every video notification from YouTube, even though you've turned on the notifications. So that brings us to the next topic. Are you guys following us on Twitter? We're at AltCoinBuzzIO. If you don't have a Twitter account, don't just create it just for the sake of following us, but go ahead and create it, follow us, and also make sure you're following the coins that you're invested in, because a lot of those guys are actually publishing their news on Twitter. So you'll get some inside information potentially faster than you will through the mainstream media. That's part of following Altcoin Buzz. Go ahead and turn on notifications there. You'll actually see that there's a bell next to that where it says following. Check the bell, and then you'll get notifications there. Sometimes we'll post notifications about videos that we're going to do before we actually publish the video here on YouTube, so you can get a little bit of a preview or sneak peek. Same thing goes with Instagram. So on Instagram, we're called Altcoin Buzz, our full name. Go ahead and over here, click the three little dots next to the name, turn on post notifications, and you'll get our notifications when we drop those. So whether you're on one or both or all of the above, have the notifications turned on, make sure you're following us, and we are Altcoin Buzz. So let's dive into Ripple. On Friday, Coinbase had announced that they're not adding any new coins at this time. And that let the wind out of some of the sails of the Ripple investors who had been very heavily invested in the fact that Coinbase was imminently going to potentially add Ripple to their exchange. And it isn't happening yet. So they didn't come out and say directly that Ripple's not qualified to be listed there, or that they're not specifically listing Ripple there. What they said is that they're not adding any new coins at this time, which is inclusive of all coins that aren't currently listed there. But the reason that people are strongly anticipating it being listed there, or hoping that it gets listed there, is look what happened to Bitcoin Cash when it was added back in December. Bitcoin Cash went from being like a $500 or $600 coin thereabouts up to right now where it hovers in the $2,500 to $3,000, and we've seen it hit the upper $3,000 range shortly after it was listed. Not to say that Ripple is going to boom and become a $5,000 coin, but the Bitcoin Cash did get 5 or 6 times gains in its market capital, which would be insane to see that happen, admittedly, to Ripple, but it is entirely possible. This is a coin built for microtransactions. It's already being used for financial institutions. You guys know the story. But here's the next thing coming up. So they have announced, or not Ripple, but a very popular Japanese website. It's an entertainment website named DMM.com. They've announced that they're getting into the cryptocurrency business. So they're launching an exchange on January 10th, and they're going to start off with 7 cryptocurrencies, one of which is going to be Ripple. It's also going to include Bitcoin, of course. So this will allow people to buy Ripple with their fiat currencies there in Japan and cash back out into fiat currencies. Now, they have about 27 million users across their platform, but as you can see from being on this website here for a few moments, that cryptocurrency appears to be very far from the, maybe not the demographic, but the actual intent and current interaction that DMM has with its audience. It would be kind of like putting it on Amazon per se, and I don't think that DMM is as powerful as Amazon. Don't quote me on that, but people are here for different reasons, and only one of which is going to be cryptocurrency. They're here for gaming, they're here for entertainment, they're here for television, they're here to purchase things and watch movies. So cryptocurrency aligning with that target audience, it's very well likely, but at the same time, it's not as if this was already an existing exchange that was adding Ripple to it. So don't expect 27 million people to just jump on board and purchase Ripple all of a sudden just because they have an exchange listed with it on there. But it is still noteworthy news to bring up to you guys. So that is something to consider, because anytime there's a new exchange that you can get directly in and out of one of the altcoins, it's a very big thing for the economy, because then you don't have to exchange from Ripple into Ethereum, Litecoin, Bitcoin Cash, or Bitcoin to get your money out. And that's a big boon to people that are in the Japanese market. And no word there on whether that'll open up to other foreigners, but we know that the Japanese and the Koreans are some of the most heavily invested in cryptocurrency, and they have a lot of interest in it for many reasons. Some of it could be the technology, some of it could be for the financial speculations. We're not entirely sure, but we just know that when we look at the amount of money being spent, so if we come back here and we look at the markets, I'm sure we'll see like the top investments today have been on Bithumb and the Korean won. Look at the volume. Now, today there's been roughly $1 billion in Ripple that has been exchanged out of the Korean won. So that means that they outweigh almost all the other financial USD, Bitcoin on this exchange, Bitcoin, USD, Ethereum, USDT Tether, the Euro. So look at how significant these people are already investing in Ripple, and it makes sense that Asians in particular are heavily investing. So the Korean and Japanese banks, of course, are allying with Ripple for RippleNet, which is one of the technologies provided by Ripple. They're not all necessarily taking the XRP currency, but they're basically trading the same type of technology. So you have the Japanese yen down here at 19. Where else do we see the Japanese yen? Because that would be a strong indicator. And it may not be that the Japanese themselves are so heavily invested in it. There's some more. Certainly millions, but it's nowhere near as strong as what we see with our friends over there in Korea investing from those exchanges. And obviously that could be some of the speculation that the Koreans are investing money on behalf of some of the other countries that don't allow cryptocurrency, China to name one. But who really knows? It's quite likely, but it could be other countries as well. So that's just something to check out there. What are your thoughts here? Like if you're already staked in Ripple, let's assume, because most of you probably are, or a lot of you probably are. Do you see this new exchange as being something that's going to swing some news or swing a lift in the value of it? Because the news has actually been out there for a little bit of time. It's been out there on Reddit for at least about a day. And there is just, maybe that's what fueled the lift, because we had FUD. Let's go back to the chart. There's a little bit of FUD on Friday, right? People felt a little bit let down. So let's go back to 7-day. And we'll see that Thursday things were strong, and then the announcement came out Friday, and it dropped quite a bit. It even got below $3. But now the confidence is coming back, and it peeled up almost to an all-time high, and then it's down again. So I think that people really are holding out on Ripple for a lot of good reasons. You know, it's definitely a coin you can hodl, and it probably could have a strong double-digit dollar valuation here in not a very long period of time. You know, to do that, to hit $10, it would basically have to get somewhere around the $500 million market capital range, which, yes, it would be a little bit of a strong feat, considering that means that it would have to outweigh Bitcoin. But if you're like me, you realize that this $816 billion that's currently invested in all of the currencies across the market is really a drop of water in the ocean, because I talked about one of my other videos that Google, for example, one of their stock tickers for Alphabet, their parent corporation, has over $750 billion invested in it alone. And then Google has another ticker for itself, of which also has about $750 billion of money in it, meaning that on the stock exchanges, Google is valued at about $1.5 trillion, or thereabouts, almost double the entire cryptocurrency market cap. And we're talking about 1,384 cryptocurrencies here. And yes, most of this market cap is held in the top 5 coins that are out there, maybe even the top 10, but there's still a ton of room to grow in the market. For all of those that tell me that, like, oh, it's, you know, there's a bubble. First and foremost, I don't believe there's a bubble. I think that we're in a boom, or if we're in a bubble, then the bubble hasn't even been blown yet, because so few people out there in the day-to-day life, let's say you walk down the sidewalk, very few people are actually invested in cryptocurrency. It may be less than 1%. So the moment that 5% of the world actually gets into it, and I don't know what the uptake is on NASDAQ or the Dow Jones, stock exchange in general, but let's say 5% of people get in here, and let's just round it off to 1%. So add 5 times the market capital to that on average, and you'll start to see things like Ripple and Bitcoin and a coin you've never heard of yet start to have these massive gains. We might even potentially see not just $1 trillion market cap. I think we'll see probably $1 trillion market cap by the end of the month, January, but we might even see someday in the 2018 $1 trillion market cap on a single coin. Call me crazy, but it would basically mean that Bitcoin would have to go up 5 times in value. which could happen, or that another coin would have to go up 8 times or more in value. So think about it. I'm not saying necessarily that one single coin would be worth $1 trillion in 2018, but if you don't believe that it's possible, then where were you in 2017 when we went from a dead flat market for the first few months to the end of the year seeming like everything was a win and taken off like a rocket ship? So again, make sure you're subscribed to us here on YouTube. We're Altcoin Buzz. This is Steve. Check us out on Twitter at AltCoinBuzzIO. Turn on notifications to get those updates. Also, check us out on Instagram at AltCoinBuzz, and we'll check you guys out later.